Welcome everyone to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
I'm Specialist Flonasia Neals.
And today we have an unfamiliar face, but we're excited to have her here because a lot of people don't know who she is and her position, all that kind of stuff. So Chief, I'm going to have you introduce yourself to everybody.
So I'm Chief Master Sgt. Camille Caldwell. I'm the Command Senior Enlisted Leader for the state of South Carolina, just newly appointed, had the ceremony in August of 2021, and I'm just excited to be here and be able to allow people to put face to a name if they have not, heard of my appointment. And so just would love to sit and chat with everyone today just to get messages out.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming here. Sergeant Major Kaiser was supposed to come as well, but he got stuck in meetings, so we're glad that you still were able to stop in and have this conversation with us, so thank you.
Yes, I always escape meetings.
We won't tell anybody where you're
Right.
going.
Right.
Don't come looking for her in the studio because she's
Right.
not here.
Right. I just tell them I got that Air Force thing.
So before we go into the main topic, can you kind of explain what the State Command Senior Enlisted Advisor position kind of is? I know that we were talking beforehand and you're still a little confused as well, but just kind of to explain to everybody in layman's terms of what that looks like, I guess.
All right. The Command Senior Enlisted Leader position is one that not all the states have. Out of 50 states, I believe there's like maybe 33 or 34 that have a Command Senior Enlisted Leader. And based on the numbers for Army, it's usually an Army appointee. So I'm the first for the South Carolina on the Air Force side. And it's newly appointed to us, but it's a joint position where it's working with the state command chief for the Air Force and also working with the state command senior sergeant major for the Army, and we just collectively work on enlisted matters. So I directly work for the TAG, and of course the command sergeant major works directly for General Jenkins, and the state command chief, which is Chief Carr. He works directly for General Gandhi because he was also promoted. So the three of us collectively, we work on enlisted matters. So development, just making sure we're taking care of our airmen and soldiers, finding out what the needs are, and just making sure, one, that we get the mission accomplished. But outside of the mission, how do we grow our forces? How do we make sure people stay, the retention? What's driving folks to not want to stay? Well, how do we get after that? So yes, we have to fight the wars, we have to do the TDYs, we have to do our jobs, but outside of those shops, like when you guys leave your shop, what is your passion? Everybody joined for a reason, and it's just a matter of, are we meeting that need for why they joined? Some, of course, to get away from home, maybe there wasn't college opportunities, things like that, and they want to go to school, and then you're finding some folks that come in and they don't have those opportunities to go to school where the money's there, but their job is so demanding that they don't have the time to go to school. So how do we get after those issues to move some of those obstacles out of the way so that way we can, do both, where we're maintaining the mission but maintaining that soldier and airman also, so that way they want to stay. Because not everybody, of course, wants to do 20 years, but sometimes how can we change that and keep that talent that we have? Because, again, everyone wearing this uniform, I'm proud, to wear it after, over 33 years. I'm proud to wear it, and I'm trying to make sure that passion is there for others to want to stay in and have our country proud.
Awesome. Well, one thing, so going to your ceremony, I loved when you were addressing everybody and your speech and all that, and you said your main mission with this position was to address mental health in the National Guard, Air Force, and Army, because like you said, we're joint. And I think a lot of people, because we have so much Army on here, the Air Force kind of gets left in the shadows a little bit, and we try to bring them in as much as we can, but we're so Army heavy. So that really resonated with me, that was your main focus being appointed this position, is how can we fix this problem as a joint coming together. So the main topic, I guess, is pretty much suicide prevention, which we already talked with Sergeant Major Kaiser about. September is Suicide Awareness Month, but we've said time and time again, this is something that we should be talking about throughout the whole year, not just towards a specific month, because it's something that everybody deals with on a daily basis. But where are there things that you're already doing in place to fulfill that purpose, or are there goals that you're trying to reach in things you're still trying to figure out to get to that end goal?
I would say both. I have already in place, we have service member family care in place, and I'm trying to familiarize myself more with the resources available, because the last thing I want with us as leaders is to ask people to get help and then finding out the specific help that they need is not something that's available. Maybe it's because of a status issue, like the member's not is a traditional, so maybe they need to be put on orders to get the help. So that's one of the things that I'm finding out. We do have some obstacles, and how do we overcome those obstacles to make sure we're still taking care of our folks? Because again, we only see a lot of these people 1 week in a month. Okay, what's happening those other 28 days? And so when we come to drills, we're trying to catch up pretty much on what people, have done that last month, but also we're trying to get the mission done. So myself, I'm guilty of it, where you're got that tunnel vision of you're going to this meeting, you're going to meet with these folks, and then you may see someone that's just not looking like their usual self, but you're still got that tunnel vision of you got to get this done. And it's just talking to leaders and making sure that we stop and we take the time and say, are you okay? What's going on? Do we need to talk? And then pushing, stopping for a moment and pushing whatever else is going on to just make sure that, we're checking in on each other. I'm also looking at not only service member family care, but on the air side, we have Rico Brown, our director of psychological health, and he's very instrumental in trying to get out to the units and walking around and check on folks. I'm trying to get out that stigma of mental health is something that is, taboo, that we're not to talk about it, that we're not to ask each other or share, and again, it is confidential, it is private, and it's people wanting to share. But I look at it no different than, and like I said in my ceremony, if you're going to the dentist. If I was to tell you guys right now, I got a dentist appointment, I'm not looking forward to, I got another cavity, people start sharing automatically their cavities, their root canal, or their worst story, or hey, we all do that. Or if I'm telling you I got fitness and my knee or my back, we start sharing, yeah, my back, my knee, and I got to go to the chiropractor, and I got to, we do that. But when it comes to mental health, it's quiet. And it just needs to be addressed more, that there's life challenges that we all have, whether it's marriages, whether it's kids, whether it's our civilian jobs for those of us that are not here full time, school, and I look at it as leaders that instead of always sharing with others our successes, we should also share our failures. I failed a college course. I've had to repeat. My kids will tell you, I needed a license to be a parent because, I don't know the right things to do. Or to say, because again, I'm like the tough love mom, right? And they're like, sometimes mom, we just need you to be more, nicer when we're having a problem. And it's like, it makes you take a step back to adjust on how you're doing things and what you've learned in life and how you can improve, even at work, whether you've gotten a bad evaluation. And sometimes it just takes that to say, okay, I need to improve. So I just want us as leaders to look at sharing some of our struggles and some of our challenges, because people need to know it's normal. Whether it's a death in the family, how some people can take a death, and just press on. Others, that loss of life is devastating. And sometimes it just takes us a moment to recover. I'm a pet lover, so there's people that hate pets, right? My dog was to die. I'm telling you, you are going to have to, really check on me for a minute, and others will say it's a dog, but not to me, right? So we just have to learn to understand one another when it comes to what's important to each other. So I've, like in the medical unit prior to me taking on this position, one of the things I would do is we'd have new people come into the unit. And what do we all do? Everyone says hi and whatever, but we still are in our little cliques where everybody's going to lunch with the same people. We're all, just talking or whatever, but where's the new person, right? In the corner by themselves and awkward and not wanting to ask questions. I've tried to just make sure that I've incorporated that person into the unit. I've played little fun games with trying, I would say maybe 3 months after them being in there, just asking, okay, first 5 people that are been new to the unit. Name someone that has a guinea pig or whatever. They can't tell you. So little things like that, I'm like, well, if you're taking the time to really know these folks, you'll know that they're the owner of a guinea pig, you know? So just little things like that, that it brings us out of the uniform and into our lives, you know, after we leave, to just try and connect and know one another better. We have daredevils, people that want to go skydiving and bungee jumping, things that we don't talk about. So some of those things, you know, opening up about and talking to one another about it helps us know one another better, so that way when you see those changes and differences, you'll know that there's something that you need to hone in on. Hey, they're not talking about their favorite movies anymore. They're not, you know, talking about what they're going to do this weekend, or they're not excited about this concert that they had bought tickets for. So you just start seeing those shifts and those changes. Same thing with relationships. And something else that I've learned as a first sergeant previous to being a chief is that we all, whether we're leaders or not, or not leaders, we all need to check in on one another. First sergeants need first sergeants. Chiefs need chiefs. So just because we're in these roles doesn't mean we're not human. And so a lot of times people are afraid to show those vulnerabilities that they have in life. And I just feel like we have to hone in on that and do better with checking in on one another. So in my ceremony, that was just one of the keys that I am looking forward to, getting out and talking to more folks, because I was surprised. People are willing to share. We just don't have people asking. And so Command Sergeant Major Sampa was making everyone carry the card, the 3x5 card, and mental health was one of those on that 3x5 card, to get us used to asking one another, are you okay, checking in on each other. So that's one of the initiatives that I'm also after, with going around and making sure that not only we're carrying the card, but that we're asking each other, and we're not afraid to ask. And no one should be hopefully offended that someone's asking. So
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think we talked about it with Sergeant Major Kaiser, but you always remember, like for me, I remember the commanders, the first sergeants, the team leaders, the squad leaders who took the time to get to know me, or if they knew I was having a bad day, asking me how I'm doing, or all that kind of stuff, or mentoring me. Or I remember them over the ones who just showed up, did their job, and left. And that's so impactful, because that could make a difference of you having a bad day with all these negative thoughts, and as an M-Day soldier, you have your civilian life. So you have two lives really that you're bringing together, and having somebody that cares just that little bit more can make the difference of them making a choice of being in a bad place or being in a good place. So I'm really glad that you did bring that up.
And just to piggyback off of that, having those leaders that did that kind of makes me feel like, wow, that's the type of leader that I want to be. So
absolutely.
I see that, and I do it myself.
Absolutely.
So it's important for you to do that, because you never know what effect you may have on the next generation or the next soldier that comes in. So it's important.
Because can you guys think about some of the failures that you had? I mean, I remember being terrified in tech school of if I failed tech school, right? I don't want to go back home and be, you know, like you think about those milestones in life that, you know, you're terrified of failure. But sometimes in life we have to have failure, but it's that recovery process. Sometimes you just need someone to say, you'll get it the next time, you know?
Or you have the soldiers who are in school and they're like, oh, I have a drill on a Friday, and how do I do both? And it's like, well, I've been there before, so let me tell you some of the things that I've done to help me balance both lives, because it's not easy. It's definitely not. So, you know, just having that conversation, like you said, not only talking about your success, but also talking about your struggles,
your challenges. You're because we didn't get to be chiefs or first sergeants or, you know, officers. It just didn't happen overnight. We had to have bumps in the road, and just sharing our stories on how we overcame it.
Definitely.
And not only that, but also maybe not the military side, but as far as the civilian side, you could be going through the same struggles. Like the loss of a loved one, or school, trying to balance school, work, family, and being in the Guard. Like a lot of people are going through the same things. And so if they see you come to drill and like you're straightforward, like it looks like you have everything put together and all that, but they don't know behind the scenes, like you're just trying to hold it all together. And one little thing could just set everything into a ripple effect. So like you said, getting out, talking to the soldiers and airmen, being more personable to them, and that really can make the difference. I know you kind of talked about some examples, but is there any advice that you would give, whether it's lower enlisted, leadership, anybody, other types of tips and tricks or things to help them maybe in a fun, creative way do these types of things?
Like to get to know each
Yeah,
other.
like,
We do like team building events. I remember one of the team building events I had participated in. They blindfolded us, and we had to go into a room and have somebody describe things for us to do. And it was a lesson on communication, because what someone was saying to do and what they meant
yes, or
was two
things.
different things. And so it was teaching us then that, yes, because we say it all the time, I told them that, but they heard a totally different thing. So I thought that was a really good team building thing, because it made us see as leaders and subordinates and peers that, sometimes our messages are not clear. Because if I'm saying go left 2 steps or whatever, was it 2 wide steps? Was it 2 baby steps? Was it? So again, those little team building activities, I think, would really be great icebreakers for units and things that are struggling.
Because the holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
If there are any resources, just because I know with the pandemic and stuff, it's been hard on pretty much, everybody. So are there any resources that soldiers can go to on the air side or on the Army side, or both, that you know of, that they can talk to if they have, some issues about, I guess, stressing about the holidays?
I know Military One Source, outside of Service Member Family Care and Rico Brown's services, is another avenue where they have tips. And I know on the DoD websites they also have a lot of tips and things for the holidays, because it does put a great stressor. Not everybody's happy during holiday season. Some people are sad because they've lost someone in that reminder, think of COVID, all the people that were lost 2020, 2021 due to COVID, or other issues, car accidents, just life, old age, maybe it's someone's grandmother or parent, or they lost a child.
Or lost a job.
Right, lost a job. Jobs are, so I would just say, coming from active duty years ago, one of the things that I loved that they did on active duty basis was they had people that knew that they were spending the holidays alone, that, self-reported, hey, I don't have anybody that to spend the holidays with, and families welcome them into their home. I thought that was awesome. And I know, Guard, it's different. But one of the things on the civilian side, when I worked at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, they opened up their dining facility for Thanksgiving and for Christmas for people that did not have folks to spend time with at home. That way they could all still come to the cafeteria where it was open, and they sat and just had the same, festivities there. So I thought those were nice initiatives, and I'm hoping that, I know it's too soon now to do that, but I'm hoping in the years to come that we can do things like that for folks that don't have someone to spend the holidays with. So yeah,
Awesome.
because, relationships, it's hard. Or people that have to send their kids off because of the co-parenting things. I mean, so some people struggle because they don't have their children with them, for the holidays. And so, and like me, my family's in Chicago. So as far as, my mom, brothers, sisters, things like that. So it's hard sometimes when people don't have the immediate family. And so Guard families, it's different, because a lot of times people have grown up in these communities. But for people like me that have nothing to do with South Carolina other than, work, it's different. So, but I don't mind driving, and coming out to where people are. But maybe we can do something like that. I don't know if Fort Jackson has something like that, but maybe that's something that we could look into to see if Fort Jackson has something going on like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I always forget about Fort Jackson.
Yeah.
Right.
Until someone brings it up, and I'm
Or
like,
even
oh, yeah,
Shaw.
they're down the
Oh,
road.
Or
yeah.
even Shaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to see what our sister bases are doing to make people not spend the time alone.
Yeah. Now, what do you think are ways that we could come together as a Guard? Because like we were saying earlier, we're so Army heavy, and how can we get Air Force, how can we join it together so it's not just this is strictly Air Force, this is strictly Army? Like, how do you think there's ways that we could do to improve on that?
I just came out of a meeting where that's I was hitting home because they were like, well, the Army said yes and the Air Force said no. I said, well, why wasn't that meeting together? So that way the pros and cons could be talked about, why the Army said yes or no or whoever. And that way, because maybe it was topics that they hadn't thought of. So I just came out of that meeting on my way here. I just think, I know some of the armories that I went around and spoke to, and then I also go to the Chiefs Council on the air side. And I continue to ask for the shops themselves to reach out to one another, like PA reaching out to PA, medical reaching out to medical, engineers, that way that crosstalk can take place. What I would love too to see in the future is that when people have to miss drills, not on purpose, of course, where they're, but if there's a drill that they have to miss, that maybe the makeup is with the other branch.
I love that idea.
So that's just again, I'm not king, right? I'm not king. I'm just enlisted, right? Right. So we got, but just that way you're working in that shop, you know, and you see what they bring to the fight. They can learn from you, and I mean, it just seems like, why not? Why aren't we doing that?
You have the resources,
Right. We're all right here. And I do know that some of the Army, of course, they're spread out all over the place, may not want to drive all the way to McIntyre to do the air weekend, but maybe they are willing. So if we don't ask, we don't know. But I'm just hoping that we could reach out, and then maybe the folks that are spread out, like if the air is missing, maybe they're willing to drive to Spartanburg or Anderson or whatever and work with those units and just bring, that unity. So I'm hoping that, that's the way that we can go in the future as far as, just picking up the phone and reaching out to each other. Conferences, of course, not letting everybody sit in their groups. It's like, should be air in the Army of the same, you guys sit at that table, talk to one another. Okay, you guys sit, that way we can, make sure that we're forcing those relationships in a way if people are not picking up the phone to reach out.
Yeah.
But I know we all have our ton of, we got to get the mission done. We don't have time to go play with the Air Force. We don't have time to play with the Army, but we've got to, because my thing is when we're called up as the South Carolina National Guard. And we should not be getting to know each other then. We should be doing that before, because when times are stressed like that, that's not when you want to try and put people together, because it's like the Army wants us to do it their way, the Air Force is not, and so we need to have those relationships built, ahead of time, so that way we're in lockstep when the community sees us, when our nation sees us.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I honestly, because I don't think Army people don't realize that all Air Force, as far as I understand, they all drill at McIntyre.
Right.
So they don't have units close to them where they can go and drill for the weekend. Like, every Air Force person in the South Carolina National Guard drills at McIntyre. So if there is a reason for them to have to split train and somebody lives in Charleston and there's a unit that's that same MOS, that would make sense for them to go and be able to work with that unit and learn what they're doing. Or even like a lot of the Army units have annual training at McCready. And so like Air Force coming to McCready or them going to and that would be a good time for people to link up as well. And one thing I didn't know till your ceremony was that, so like the Army has the RSP program, and the Air Force does something similar, but they actually let their recruits work with the units they're going to be a part of.
Right.
And I was like, that is amazing, because you get on the job training. You're going to know who your people are when you get back.
Right.
And I'm like, why can't we do that? Like, that's perfect.
And it has its pros and cons. Because some people say, they're not trained yet. They can't. Okay, well.
They got to learn somehow.
Right, right.
Because when you go to AT or AIT and all that, like, you're learning the bare bones.
Right.
So,
but think of how advanced they are when they get to that course. And, it's like a breeze, because they've been doing it, waiting on a school date for a year. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And many times what you learn in AIT is not what you are actually doing.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, you get both the best of both worlds type thing. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome. But before we close out, is there anything else that you would like to add, or just anything in general about anything really?
I would just like to say suicide or mental health awareness is something that we're never going to be able to shy away from having to hit it head on. We have got to address it. We've got to not be afraid of it. We've got to just ask the tough questions when we're seeing changes in folks that, are working with us. And so, and it doesn't matter what the position is. No one should feel that they can't ask me, are you doing okay? You heard your daughter, flunked another college course or whatever. Are you okay? Yeah, my budget's not, but I am, So, so I just want to just share that it's just okay to need help, and we shouldn't be afraid to ask. We've got to get away from that stigma that asking for help is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
awesome. Well, we really appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully we can have you come in soon again.
yes, thank you for having me. I did like coming in and seeing your setup here. It's a great studio, and
Thank
hopefully we can do some more to spoof it up for you. So, but thank you guys for what you do.
Yes, thank you so much. So if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.